Hello, everyone. Welcome to our quarterly update for this year. Thanks for hanging on. While we organise, we're on a new platform today, which is on the GoToWebinar platform. We normally do this in MS Teams. We've got a good presentation for you today. Yeah, we might as well get started. I think I'm sharing my screen. Can anyone give me a nod just to make sure that they can see me sharing the screen?
It's working good.
All working fine.
Working good, Owen.
Excellent. All right, no worries. Perfect. Let's move on. All right, so today we're going to go over a few things. Statistics from the NECA Safe Annual Safety Review. So that's what I said I was going to do last time. So we developed the presentation around that. So some interesting stats there. There's been a tragic incident this week at Rose Hill, at a data center out at Rose Hill. I'm going to go talk about that a little bit on what we know about that at this stage. Then we're going to go through the state updates with the advisors that we've got on today. So today we've got Adriana, Cassie, Thomas, and Ben with us today doing the state updates. And also, I'm going to do a quick demonstration on NECA as well. Now, bit of a tour of this webinar. So what you should see at the top is a little chat box on the, should be on the sort of top right-hand side. And you should be able to type a message in that as you go along and ask us any questions as well. There's also the question tab as well. You can use that if you want, and I think multiple people will be able to provide responses to that if you use the question tab, but either one, put the question in the chat or in the question tab. I think that will be fine, and we'll have the guys monitor that and bring that over. We also got a react button down the bottom as well, which you can utilize. And yeah, so let's see how this webinar platform goes. Excellent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change up the agenda a little bit and actually start with the Rose Hill incident and what we know. So we got a phone call earlier this week informing me that a fatality had occurred at Rose Hill. The reason why we know the fatality has occurred is because of it. One of our members, workers that work at the site, found the electrician that suffered from the electric shock at the site and provided PPE, and they provided us with some details about what happened, what they knew what happened as well. So we don't know exactly what the causes were, what the issues were, but all we know is that there was an electrician that works for a non-member who was undertaking some work on his own, obviously on a live switchboard, and unfortunately came in contact with some of those conductors and unfortunately received a fatal electric shock. And quite a few of our members work at these sites, at these data centers, and we're seeing a number of issues at these data centers, which I just want to raise as well, which is a bit concerning for me. So what I know, at the Eastern Creek data center a couple of years ago now, there was an electrician that received an electrical shock at that data center. He managed to survive. The only reason why he survived is because there were people nearby the incident and there was access to a defibrillator, and he was actually brought back via the defibrillator. So that was an extremely close call, but it sounds very similar to that event as well. What we do know is that he was working on the Rose Hill incident. Going back to the Rose Hill incident, he was working on the UPS supply system as well. So, and I think that was similar to the Eastern Creek event as well. Now, we did a site inspection of a data center at Artarmon recently, and what we found there is that there is a really strong emphasis on quality of work at these sites. So very, very strong emphasis on the products that are going in, the installation quality, and there are time pressures and those sorts of things happening at these sites as well. But it seems to be the focus on quality has taken the focus off safety processes, and that's kind of consistent with what we found with that site inspection. So the work that the guys are doing are outstanding, but I think what's happening is that things like VMOPs and quality processes are the emphasis on those documents are overshining documents like safe work method statements and safe work procedures. So if you are working at these high pressure sites, that you got to remember that you got to keep the focus on work health and safety as well. So yeah, and we're looking at other incidents at data centers as well. So yeah, tragic accident. Unfortunately, it's never nice to hear when a fellow electrician has passed away on the job due to electric shock, and kind of that's what we're trying to do here, is help prevent that. So, but if you guys know anything more information in regards to that, let us know. Yeah, we'll see if there's anything we can do to our procedures and processes to try educate and inform people how not to make the same mistake in the future as well. So yeah, that's enough of that. We'll move on. And once again, there is the chat and the question box there as well. Let us know what's going on. I think it's open to everyone on the default at the moment, so that's good. All right, we'll get into the first presentation. So NECA Safe Annual Safety Data Review. What this is, the advisors will carry out what we call the annual safety review and data. And what that is, it's a list of questions. It's sort of like a basic audit, but it's much more simpler than that to do. So some of the things about the audit, and I'll go to this page here. The guys have actually done 430 of them now since we've had this audit up. So we've had quite a few completed, more than 430 completed. So that's an amazing effort. They're completed voluntary by NECA members. All the answers are given freely without the need to provide any evidence, and it's more educational and it's less of an audit. So in that sense, it's like being able to check your blind spots in your business for compliance to legislation. And we made the audit based on compliance as well. So, but that's the result. And what I'm going to go through is some of the answers we're getting. And it's important to remember that the answers are going to be skewed by the fact that the people undertaking this audit are members of NECA. They are doing this voluntarily. So basically, you were going to have a high level of compliance already just from the type of people who have decided to undertake this audit as well, because they're looking to improve their safety. Plus that there is, all the answers are given voluntary and we're not checking for evidence. So therefore there is an opportunity for people to make themselves look better than probably what they would actually do if we went to the site and actually had a look at some of those things as well. So you do need to take your own opinion away from the answers that I'm going to give you from the statistics we've derived from those 430 annual safety reviews. It took me about 3 weeks to put together all these stats. So what you're actually going to see as you go through is different numbers of annual safety reviews completed for the total responses, because as I was going through 3 weeks, more and more of them were being done. But that's just the way we sort of got the results as well. So this one, we're going to start going through it. One of the questions is in regards to business and license qualifications and whether they're up to date. And this is nice to see, 83% of the responses list all the licenses we need and make sure that they're up to date. So they have it all then and they make sure it's up to date. 2% saying to us that training registers did not have all up-to-date information on file, and 8% allow the tradesmen to manage their own license and qualifications, as in there's no management in-house at all from that as well, from those 424 responses. So yeah, most businesses there managing their businesses and license qualifications, probably what we say appropriately there. This is an interesting one. We've had this in all our audits, but it's in regards to what is the definition of energized work, and 32% only have a basic understanding of what energized work is. 52% actually understand this clearly and have it communicated in their documents, and 8% of the people we did this safety review on did not know, or their answer was wrong as well. So there's still a lot of issues around the definition or understanding of what energized work is, which is problematic, because when a lot of our promotions that the regulators like to give out, which is, for example, never work live, if there's a, what are we saying there? 48% of the industry of business owners, NECA member business owners, don't understand the definition of energized work, then that message of no live work could quite easily fall flat. Because if they don't know what live work is, then they don't know how to not do it to begin with. So that's a bit of a concern, that one. So I think there still needs to be some work done around educating people around definition of energized work and what live work is as well. Next one is, do you have procedures or swims detailing safety requirements before working on or near electrical installations? 29% say that they have swims and procedures, but they need to be reviewed and updated. So that's 30%. 61% are saying, yes, we've reviewed within the last 12 months and all workers are inducted into these procedures. And we've also got 10% saying that we don't have any swims or procedures. That's a bit concerning as well. So, but that's all electrical work for working on or near electrical installations by law require a safe work method statement. So therefore, 10% of the guys that we're doing don't have that at all. So there's gaps in those businesses there as well. Next one is a safety observer present when required? 38% are saying safety observers are required, and we have used safety observers on some jobs, which is pretty good. 6% responded, said swims and procedures have references to observe it if required. Little evidence exists that shows that this occurs, that they have a safety observer, and it's often overlooked, so there's no understanding of the safety observer requirement. And 46% saying that observer is well understood by all workers. Sufficient workers have been trained in LVR, CPR as well. So that's pretty good as well. But yeah, still probably a lot of work needs to be done on trying to get the electrical safety observer legislation understood. Do your workers conduct pre-start risk assessments? So 14% said that we have a quick chat before we get to work, but nothing is documented. 3% say that the workers just get straight on with the work with little thought towards safety. 19% have said that the trouble with some workers not completing them, they've trouble with some workers not completing them, and they are not filled out correctly. And 64% say, yes, we have records to prove it. We audit this from time to time to ensure compliance and relevance as well. So most people are in the affirmative on that one there. Next one is, are young apprentices or young workers adequately supervised? And 92% say, yes, we schedule work, so they're always working with a tradesman. 2% say that they send apprentices to do jobs unsupervised. And 6% say they do that to their 4th years as well. So there are signs of non-compliance there, but the most is compliant in the responses. Next one is in regards to test instruments and calibration certificates. 30% don't have calibrated certificates for their test equipment. So yeah, that's an interesting fact there. I'd say that's pretty much on the money. Is electrical work installed and tested in accordance with AS 3000 and other applicable standards? So 16% say that they're compliant with this because they don't have any callbacks or defects issued. 6% say, as far as we know, all our workers are licensed, so it should be all good. 4% response was, we've had callbacks or defects issued, but they're all sorted now. And 74% say, yes, regular workplace quality audits conducted to ensure all our work is compliant. It's impressive. I don't necessarily agree with that figure, but yeah, quality is definitely the focus of most electrical businesses, because if they don't do quality work, you know, that's where the wheels are going to come off the business. So that probably is closer to accurate. Here's an interesting one. What safety equipment do you give your workers who do electrical work? So 99% of our respondents provide their workers with eye protection. 93% of all respondents provide their workers with lockout, takeout equipment. 76% provide their workers with insulated gloves. And I'm going to call lies on that, because if you have a look at the next one, low voltage rescue kits at 76%, which is exactly the same as the insulated gloves. So I think most people are getting confused with the insulated gloves and the low voltage rescue kits. I hardly ever see electrical workers use insulated gloves, and you're not supposed to use the insulated gloves out of the low voltage rescue kits for electrical work. But I'm kind of suspicious about the 76 on both the responses on the insulated gloves and low voltage rescue kits. 61% reckon they have an ISSC compliant first aid kit. 63% provide their workers with insulated mats. Interestingly, 45% say that they provide their workers with some form of arc-rated clothing, whether that be in the kits or full-time uniforms, but 45% of our respondents are saying that they're providing arc-rated clothing, and 40% are saying that they've also provided an arc-rated face shield with a chin cup as well. So that's an interesting application of PPE across where the answers we're receiving in that annual safety review as well. How many members passed the 15% or less non-conformance buffer from the 430 responses? So what we've done, we've drawn a line in the sand, and it's 15% non-compliance or 85% pass rate that we put at some time. So if you get more than 85%, we call that a pass. If you get less than 85%, we'll call that a fail. What that means is if you pass, we'll actually provide you with a certificate saying, congratulations, you passed the audit. And if you don't, we'll give you corrective actions. And say if you respond to the corrective actions, we'll give you the certificate. But normally, not many people chase the certificate. They're just using this as an educational process, but it's still an interesting point there as well. And from our audits, the responses were there, but you can see it's kind of like roughly about, I'm going to say it's 60% of the NECA members that undertake this review fail our audit based on the weighting of the questions and the scoring process that we built into it. And only about 40% actually score 85% or higher as well. So yeah, nice, interesting little facts. Once again, it's definitely not a scientific results, so don't use these results, you know, take them as fact, because you got to take in a lot of nuance into those responses. But it was just interesting to see what responses we're getting back. So yeah. Anyway, what we're going to do now is move to the state-specific updates, and we're going to start with one of our new advisors, Ben Williams. And yeah, I'll take it over for you, Ben. Did you want to try and share your screen, or you're going to try to read off the one that you got?
I'll just keep going off your screen. That'll be fine.
Okay. Just give me a cue when you want to change slides, because I might, you know.
Yep. Thank you for that. Obviously, as we're coming into the hotter months, the ACT have brought out a new code of practice for managing extreme temperatures and risks. It doesn't just go into the heat side of things, but also the extreme colds that we get down here in the ACT. Obviously, the focus has become more on fluent and intense with the climate change that's been going on. So cold-related stress and cold-related health risks have also been recognised within that one. What the code requires and recommends is obviously for the PCBUs to identify and control the risks within that, and not just outdoor, but also indoors and confined space work. Main ones are the eliminate, substitute, isolate, and engineer the controls out, and then PPE if required. Developing a temperature management plan and agreeing on stop work thresholds, rest breaks, hydration, and obviously heat as appropriate. Providing training to the first aid responders for the heat and cold related incidences is also one of their main recommendations. If we could just go across to the next one. What NECA members should do, obviously review your current thermal risks, whether that be hot or cold within the system. Consult with your workers and safety representatives to measure the thresholds, and update and complete your temperature management plan, including monitoring response, clothing if required, and emergency procedures. Provide training for your staff and recognise and respond to any heat or cold related incidences. Monitor the effectiveness of it, and then adjust accordingly as the weather changes. WorkSafe ACT has announced that they're going to increase their compliance monitoring. So they're expanding into some weekend inspections. They want to make sure that they are across the residential sector, which is now operating 7 days a week. So are the inspectors. It's basically following on from multiple safety and regulation breaches across the residential sites. And the key focus of these inspections will be working at heights, failure to follow swims, slips, trips and falls, the lack of basic amenities within these sites, so toilets, signage, those sorts of things, and obviously the missing silica training, which is mandatory across the ACT. Having those unsecure sites and allowing public access across the ACT's residential construction sector has been a big issue for a while. So just making sure those ones are under control, that's always best to be on the front foot with that one. And then finally, the WorkSafe ACT has actually brought in some guidance notification on what determines a sexual assault on a worksite. It's clarified that what constitutes a sexual assault within a workplace. It provides clear definitions and practical examples of how the PCBUs can assess these incidents, determining what a sexual assault is in a workplace, and then reporting requirements. So obviously notifying Safe Work ACT, becoming aware of those sexual assaults, and then obviously if written by phone, it must be done within 48 hours, providing written information. So some good, clear information in regards to that.
Thanks, Ben. I'll take over from there. Good morning, everyone. So I will start the New South Wales update. So just to begin with, there are Safe Work New South Wales and WorkSafe ACT are joining forces. Basically, they've started a campaign to get a little bit of consistency between both of the different states. So there's going to be unannounced compliance checks. I believe they already started those, and they'll be attending construction sites in Queanbeyan, Canberra, and all of the surrounding areas. Their primary focus is falls from heights. So that's what they're going to be focusing on. Obviously, non-compliance will result in fines, prohibition notices, and improvement notices. So that's the biggest focus between those two states there. Moving along from there, Owen. Cool. This one here is a reminder. We recently sent out an e-news on a hearing protection deadline. So if your workers are frequently exposed to noise levels exceeding the exposure standard, mandatory hearing tests will be required starting from 1st of January 26. So for new workers, they must complete a baseline hearing test within 3 months of starting their role. We recommend doing a pre-employment medical, and in that you can include audiometric testing. We have developed a pre-placement health assessment report, which is available to our members on the member knowledge base, and that has a list of all of the recommended tests that you should be putting your workers through during the pre-employment medical stages. For existing workers, all current workers who use hearing protection must complete their first hearing test by the 1st of January. So all of your current employees, you need to ensure that they've completed their first hearing test by the 1st of January next year. Every 2 years after the initial hearing test, all workers must undergo ongoing monitoring. So making sure that that gets done as well. Moving along, Owen. Okay, so it's up to the PCBU to arrange the hearing test, and you also are responsible for covering the costs of the tests. There's no referral that's required for those as well, so you can just book it in. So that's it with that. So just making sure that you've got that in place for the 1st of January. This next one here is just a reminder. I think it was a couple of weeks ago now, NECA held a webinar to inform members on the industrial relations and other legislation amendments, so Workplace Protections Bill 2025. If you weren't able to attend to that, just give our Member Services Department a call and see if you can get access to the webinar, because I believe that was recorded as well, so you'll be able to keep updated with that. That's it for my updates.
Thanks, Adriana. Yeah, we're looking at Queensland now, so we'll jump into the electrical licensing disciplinary action. So in the previous months, there's been 6 electrical license committee took action against 6 license holders. So these include penalties with license suspensions, disqualifications from QTP duties. This is up to 10 years as well in some cases, mandatory competency training and fines ranging from $200 to $4,000. Also, electrical contractors were required to undergo independent electrical safety system audits before their license restrictions could be lifted. So if this does happen to you, we also offer this at NECA Safe to conduct these independent electrical safety system audits as well. So if something does happen, by all means, reach out and we'll assist you there. And also conditions were placed on multiple licenses, including mandatory training for both the workers and QTPs. Next slide, Owen. So how can NECA members benefit from being with NECA Safe as well? So we do have structured risk management. So what that looks like is we have compliant documentation. You can find that through MKB through your NECA Safe Light systems. If you were to go a little bit further as well, we do offer a few other solutions around documentation and safe management systems as well. Audit readiness, so we do have built-in audit trails. So what Owen just went through previously, we do these audits to be proactive and find any solutions or a bit of a gap analysis to find where the business can improve moving forward. So these audits are preventative. Next slide, Owen. So from 2026, they're doing a falling objects compliance campaign, and also with the next slide as well, they're doing a working from heights one as well. So Workplace Health and Safety Queensland will conduct a statewide proactive compliance campaign. They're really targeting falling objects and also the risks across the construction industry. Inspectors will review controls associated with material storage, exclusion zones, hoist operations, scaffolding, overhead work, and site housekeeping practices. Businesses, so members, we do suggest you should undertake a preemptive review of their falling objects risk management to ensure compliance. Next slide, Owen. You got the next slide on. Silica update as well. this is for WA, sorry. So I'm jumping in here for Kirsty, who is on leave at the moment. So for Western Australia, there's a silica update. So new requirements from the 1st of September. And I believe the one we did previously, the safety quarterly meeting, was done on the 29th of August. So we're catching up from there. So the PCBUs undertaking high risk silica processing to conduct air monitoring and to notify WorkSafe Commissioner if the RCS levels exceed the exposure standard of 0.05 milligrams. This goes into about how it's generated and also the processing around how it's activated. So through cutting, grinding, drilling, sanding, crushing, tunneling, quarrying, mechanical screening, and any other tasks likely to expose workers to the silica. Next slide, Owen. Bit of a licensing update here. So 2 electrical companies were fined in separate incidents after the inspectors discovered installations missing the MEN, obviously a critical component within the system. In both cases, one involving a switchboard upgrade and another one connecting into a new home. And obviously the absence of the MEN created serious risks of the metal fixtures or components being live during a fault. The electricians breached wiring regulations and both companies failed in their duty to properly test, verify and oversee the electrical work carried out. I'll hand over back to Ben.
Thanks for that, Tom. We'll jump down to Tassie now.
Just double, is there one more slide for license update and improved verification controls? That's right. We'll move on to Tassie. There we go. Sorry, go for it, Ben.
That's all right. Sorry about that. So just recently, so 2 weeks ago, Tasmania adopted a new code of practice for managing respirable crystalline silica. Comes into line with most of the rest of Australia, identifying key requirements. So what the tasks are involving the CCS or CSS, processing, mandatory ventilation, hierarchy controls, and also the high risk processing of silica risks. Implications for NECA members, obviously reviewing current silica controls, SWIMs, air monitoring plans, alignment with internal systems, whether that's the silica, NECA safe silica packs or other code requirements, and ensuring all workers receive task-specific crystalline silica training. It came into line with the first week of, if we go to the next slide. So the first week of Asbestos Awareness Week, WorkSafe Tasmania started with a webinar of managing asbestos and silica into the future. Gave some key regulatory directions in regards to asbestos and respirable crystalline silica into the future and across all industries. Updated the guidance focus for early identification and risk assessments, and that integrated risk management approach to silica going forward. So it does line up really well with the silica risk assessment that NECA Safe have and our silica SWIMs. So those packs are really good for not just the other members, but all through Australia, including Tasmania. So yeah, anybody who doesn't have those down in Tassie, feel free to reach out. And Work Health Safety Month through Tassie was really well run. So WorkSafe Tasmania wrapped up its Work Health Safety Month. It's come across as a huge success. There were nearly 60 free events, which were held across Hobart, Launceston, and Devonport, as well as the HSR conference held in Tassie. The most popular webinar they had was on neurodiversity in the workplace with over 240 attendees. So that's quite good for a webinar. And it's NECA Safe obviously applauds any strong engagement with the workers and employees, sharing those practical strategies within the work health safety, wellbeing and return to work programs. And it was really good to have that enthusiastic feedback from the members and everybody who was involved.
Thanks, Ben. Good morning, everyone. So I'm covering national, so most of this will be just covering off Safe Work Australia updates. as well as a case study that I've found pretty topical to cover as well. So for this first one, Safe Work Australia has updated guidance for managing the work health and safety risks of battery installations. They've added that to the risks of rooftop solar installation work guides. So that's going to support handling of aspects of rooftop solar systems, including the installation, maintenance, retrofitting, removal of solar panels, your inverters, batteries, as well as related equipment for residential as well as commercial structures. The updates cover a whole range of areas which I've found in the guidance material to be pretty useful. So I would recommend to have a look at that updated guidance. Thanks, Owen. They have also added a few new dashboards to the Our Data, Your Stories series that they have. This includes extra data on hazards, occupations, as well as an area where you can create your own customizable chart. So with this, it is a great addition, but I would suggest sort of proceeding with a little bit of caution. I do find that this area does have some limitations to the data that's provided, how it's being captured, as well as what I'm finding is that how it's being presented in some of the charts can come across as a little bit misleading unless you dig further into other data sets within it to create a larger picture. So I am a little bit concerned that there might be some misinterpretation of the data, but if you do focus on the customizable chart, there's an area where you can compare occupations within that builder chart section, and you can hone in on the electrotechnology industry. This is the first area where I've really found that we can actually get some good data for our industry. So you can right click and there's an option to drill down just from electrotechnology and to telecommunications trade workers, separate those into electricians and electronics and telecommunication trade workers. And then you can go one step further. So you can break it down to electricians, electrical distribution trade workers, aircon refrigeration, electronics trade workers, as well as telecom workers. So I'm finding that's going to be quite insightful for us in the future. Thanks, Owen. All right, so just a quick update on some other areas that have been updated. There are a couple of additional silica resources, some templates, checklists, and case studies that they have added onto their website. They have also published some key stats from 2024. A couple of key points for us would be construction does form part of the top 6 industries for fatalities. Falling from heights was that second leading cause. So just making sure that you're aware of that. That's obviously why all the jurisdictions are sort of focusing on that falling from heights within their blitzes. But yeah, stats are there. They do have a new article that is examining how work health and safety outcomes differ across urban, regional and remote areas, which does have some interesting data in it. Some of the findings include that serious claims are higher in remote areas compared to major cities. Mental health claims are more common in urban areas. Physical injuries are dominated within the remote regions, but we do just need to note that mining, agriculture, things like that in remote areas have impacted the data that's come out of this. They do have a new model code of practice that's come out for managing the risks of fatigue at work. And they have also published some good animations to help employers explain to workers what airborne contaminants are, how they will impact their health, and how to manage the exposure to those risks. The next slide, please, Owen. All right, so we came across quite an interesting case recently, which we wanted to just sort of talk about and recommend that you do a bit of a review of how your business conducts supervision within the workplace. So for this case, summary of the incident, we had a contractor with 8 years experience in the industry. They suffered serious injuries while they were stripping formwork at a New South Wales construction site. So they were prosecuted under the Work Health and Safety Act. Now, the key issues that were found was that there was a lack of safe systems of formwork for stripping and an absence of proper supervision that exposed workers to significant risks. So the court found that there was a serious departure from acceptable safety practices. They did categorise it as low objective seriousness. However, they noted that because there was a potential for fatal injury, which elevated the severity of it. So they were penalised for inadequate supervision and risk of severe consequences. So they did get a $150,000 fine. Now, there were a couple of mitigating factors of this, which was that the company did put in an early guilty plea, and they did lack prior convictions. So all of that was considered when they were applying that fine. So lessons learned: implement safe systems of work and ensure proper supervision with safety laws. Owen, if you can go to the next slide, please. So just sort of want to summarise that this case, really, we just want to reinforce that supervision isn't limited to apprentices or new employees, where the focus normally ends up lying, we hear. All workers do require some level of supervision, and examples of other areas that you should also be focusing on do include your employee training, as well as client relationship management, compliance and regulatory adherence, contractor management as well, work health and safety, obviously, as well as quality control, but also looking at code of conduct and your financial oversight of your projects. So really, the level of supervision should be determined by the level of risk that's associated with the type of supervision that's being required at that point in time. So that could be based on a worker's experience, you know, how long they have been working in the industry, costs that are involved in the project, if a worker is known for non-adherence with procedures, or potentially the level of complexity to standards. So passive or intermittent supervision isn't necessarily sufficient for all scenarios. So you need to make sure that you have active oversight in place to confirm that requirements are being met throughout the entire duration. So I'm just making sure that we put the call out for you guys to review your supervision practices, look at your policies, procedures, make sure that they are robust as well as all-encompassing, and that you're consistently implementing them within the workplace, not just relying on your workers or assuming that they're doing the right thing.
That's sort of what I was going on about with that Rose Hill incident. And the recent issues we're seeing at the data centers is just a sort of a ongoing lack of supervision across all the aspects. So there's a strong focus on quality, but there was no focus on workplace safety or worker in following procedures and everything like that. So it's important just to think of supervision is not just apprentice supervision. It's sort of a complex thing that needs to be looked at. Well, thank you for that, Cassie. You got anything else to add to that, or?
That's it. No? Thank you.
That's good. Okay, cool. So I'm going to quickly give you guys a quick demonstration of NECA. So what NECA is a brand new tool that we've developed at NECA. And it's basically an AI bot designed to read all the resources and documents and IP and everything that we've built up at NECA. And so it's taken all the knowledge that's exclusive to NECA members, and it's going to answer based off the back of all that knowledge. And this includes our standards in MKB. I think there's 40 odd standards that we've got in MKB. It's going to read through the standards and answer questions that you may have, at least point you in the right direction, at least anyway. So it's a pretty cool little item. Now, I'm going to show you how I've used it on union disputes at construction sites recently, just to get quick answers, which is kind of what your project managers could do when they're getting pressured on construction sites as well, for these guys. So I'm going to show you this particular image here. I've got two images here, and this came up as a question on a construction site. It was the water fountain proximity to the construction switchboard, and then again the water fountain proximity to the weatherproof GPO that came up. And we're trying to work out, the question was, is this compliant or non-compliant? You know, both the construction switchboard and the weatherproof GPO are IP rated and weatherproof. So, you know, basically we're trying to, the question is that we're kind of worried that this one didn't look, the one on the left, the switchboard doesn't look compliant, and the left one was, well, if that's not compliant, then how about this one, which was the same construction site as we'll discuss in this issue. So was it just an interesting little thing? What I'm going to do is try to bring up the NECA now. So basically what we did is I put the question in of a water fountain with a 300 mil of a weatherproof GPO, is this compliant? And I'm just going to see if this is going to work for me. Here we go. So you can sort of put in, ask it a question, and then Nikki's going to give you an answer. So compliance of water fountain within 300 mils of a weatherproof GPO. So that's more like the one that was on the right-hand side. It's giving me the standard references, AS 3000, section 4 and section 6 for wet areas. And socket outlets, GPOs in wet areas such as near water fountains must comply with specific requirements, must have an appropriate IP rating, weatherproof, and RCD protection, in which case both of those were existent for the GPO. And then the distance requirement was not, the provided documents do not specify minimum distance between water fountain and weatherproof GPO. However, they emphasize outlets must be suitable for the environment and protected against water ingress. And then section 6 of AS NZS 3000 should be consulted for detailed zone requirements. So that was a pretty good answer, but I wanted to ask some more questions just to double check. How far away from a temporary construction switchboard do water fountains need to be? And it goes for above ground electrical installations, the separation 25 mil. If the water service has is a hot water pipe 100 mils, so it's not really answering the question here that I wanted. These requirements are based on ASN 3000. So I decided to ask another question. Can a switchboard installed near a water tap? And it says for kitchens and bathrooms, it's not a kitchen or a bathroom, so it's not really giving me the right separation questions again. So once again, I asked a bit more of a question. I have a water basin less than 40 litres with taps located immediately adjacent to a temporary construction switchboard on a construction site. Is this non-compliant to AS 3000 or AS 30112? And it gave me a pretty good answer here. And basically, it's likely that the switchboard is non-compliant, but there's nothing specific saying that it is, except you've got to protect water ingress. So what it's saying is that the picture I showed you with the GPO pretty much was compliant, but based on this, the switchboard, I'm going to have the water fountain removed. And if I go back to the image in regards to that, I'll just close that down. You can see that's the 5-pin plug outlet, the 3-phase outlet, and it's just over the top of the water fountain. So if you're going to use that, you're going to be dragging a cable straight over the top of the water fountain. And that tap can shoot straight up into it. So there could be water ingress if the shield happens to be broken, the cover that flips down on top of the 5-pin plug, which it wasn't in this case, but they have been known to break over time. So we said, right, let's move that a metre away. So which we did. We unplugged it and moved that water fountain further away. And this one here we deemed to be acceptable. But the good thing is that NECA was able to provide me with the standards, the sections, and the areas I need to go to confirm that the answer. And I was able to keep asking the questions to be able to get to what I wanted to get to. So that was a really interesting case. And as I said, we're on site and we answered the questions right there, and we came up to a fairly good conclusion to resolve that particular issue that was raised on that particular site. And then we had another question that was raised, and this was actually a more important one. We had a bunch of construction site sheds, and it says lunch sheds 4, 5, and 6 on circuit breaker 19, 21, and 23. So the question was, and we got here meeting, change, and WCs, once again on the same circuit. So we've got multiple sheds on one circuit. And basically the question came to us was that compliant? Or does it need to be a separate circuit fed to each construction shed? So, and this was actually brought up by the union, and so we needed to sort of answer this one pretty quickly. So what I'll do is I'll go back to Nikki for us. And if you guys have got a question for me to throw into Nikki to see what the answer is, just to give it a challenge, throw a question in the chat and I'll throw it directly into Nikki to show you. So first question I asked, is wiring a 3-site shed on a construction site of one supply fine? Now, a little bit concerning, went to the Ausgrid requirements. I didn't tell it what state I was in. So if you're anywhere other than an Ausgrid site, it just so happened to be on an Ausgrid site. So that was kind of lucky. But here the answer, installation complies with Service New South Wales installation rules and AS 3000 rules. All sheds properly earth and bonded as per the requirement. Combined outbuildings, earth requires electrical means shed earthing system used with bonding earth electrical continuous. And each shed distributed along the main switchboard must be clearly labelled. So single supply for sheds permitted if total of load does not exceed supply design limits. And it's gave me some question on earthing, labelling, and compliance. Once again, I've fed some more questions into it. Does this mean each shed needs its own MEN? And I've got no separate MEN per shed, shed earth system, and individual outbuilding. Yes, it may have its own MEN connection. And is this cross residence with 3012? And then it's got back here, site shed wiring according to section 2 of 30112, which addresses installation requirements. All construction wiring, including supply to site shed and other temporary structures, must comply with AS 3000, except where 3012 provides varied requirements. And then it goes into MEN. So it's basically saying that we can wire multiple sheds to one circuit as long as it's protected by RCD and it's rated to do so as well. So we sort of got our answer on that one, and questions around the earthing as well, which I had as well. So it's a pretty handy little tool. Also works for safety as well. So I noticed that the guys on site were doing an isolation, but they're wearing polysynthetic clothing. And I know the answer to this one. I didn't need to do this, but I just threw it into Nikki. When there's not an arc flash hazard risk identified, but electrical testing has been undertaken, what is the recommended or mandated clothing uniform standard? This basically goes into if there's no arc flash hazard, so the incident energy is below 1.2 calories per centimetre squared. PPE category is 0, where non-melting or untreated natural fibre clothing, such as cotton shirts, trousers, or overalls, ensure the clothing is in accordance with some standards. And it goes into other PPE as well. So the guys wearing polysynthetic, I was able to put a recommendation in. Mind you, I knew this one as well, of they should be in non-melting natural fibres. So once again, I asked them a question, when is the requirement for an electrical safety observer would be triggered? And it's given me a pretty good response here in Nikki as well. So when work involves energized electrical equipment, unless the risk assessment confirms there's no significant risk during testing, Regulation 161. When energized or testing for dead work is carried out as part of electrical circuit that's not being protected by safety residual current device. When work is restricted, if proper isolation from the ground can't be maintained, so separation from earth. When handling aged or messy non-compliant wiring, when working with high fault current levels, and when dealing with exposed live conductors or conductive parts, disconnecting, reconnecting, racking in, racking out type work as well. So it gave me a pretty good answer on that there as well. So it's pretty good. Is NECA included in the NECA membership? That's a question I got through. So no, it costs quite a lot of money, but there is a 1 month free trial at the moment. So take advantage of that. And I think the cost is $15 per license that you want. And as I said, this is a tool that you wouldn't give every worker in your business. You kind of would leave this, you know, the guys that need this are your project managers or your foremen that are on site. They get asked these questions, and normally they would ring you up and ask you the question. And then, you know, you do some research and do whatever, and then get back to the response. So what this will do is it will help your project managers or your supervisors be a bit more confident in the answers that they provide to the clients, making your business look a bit more professional as well. But I would always double check the answers. And as I said, it's an AI bot, so it can get things wrong, and you got to ask things a couple of different ways to actually get the right answer. But it definitely points you in the right direction to get that. Can you upload pictures into NECA and ask relevant questions? No, not yet, but you can speak into NECA. So it does have a speak function that you can, especially if you download it on the app, you can hit the microphone and ask it a verbal question, and then it will provide you the answer in text as well. Does NECA search work safe legislation and codes of practice if we've loaded it into the NECA database? So I believe we've updated it with quite a few codes of practice already, but the issue with loading all these codes of practice, if you had to listen to the state updates, they change all the bloody time. And that's a constant challenge that we're having. So what it's reading from is a lot of the NECA safe documentation that we develop and provide answers from that. And we update that regularly, at least on an annual basis, to make sure that's compliant to all state-based regulations as well. So the way the AI bot is designed is it's got quite a lot of reliance on our internal documentation first, and then it goes to open AI, but the reliance goes back to our documents in the first case. And yeah, we try to restrict it on the open AI platform as much as possible. So it doesn't go scraping information from Google for answers unless it cannot find the answer in NECA as well. And there's also trusted websites which we've been able to direct to it as well. So look, it's a pretty cool little thing. And as I said, you can put in any question that you want. I'm going to start a whole new chat, and I'm going to think of a question right now. How far away can a chemical shower be from a wall switch? So really simple question, and we'll see what it comes up with. This was actually one that we saw up at Kempsey recently. Send that. So it's going to think about it. Once again, it's searching the MKB database, which you can search for yourself too, by the way. And it's going to take slow for me this time, isn't it? It's getting there. It's thinking about it. There we go. And it will go into, so once again, it's pointing me to the standard 4557. Does not explicitly specify minimum distance between a chemical shower and a wall switch. or electrical equipment. However, the standard requires that emergency showers and eye wash stations be installed in locations that are free from obstructions, hazards, including accessibility within 10 seconds from hazard areas, outlining the general consideration and installation guidelines. So once again, you're sort of going down to a risk assessment here. If you've got a standard wall switch near a chemical shower and there's risk of water ingress, you're probably going to want to move either the shower or the wall switch. But yeah, you know, it's going to give you, you may not have understood that standard was there and around, but you've got a starting point. You've also got reference link down here, ASNZS 3000, section 6, to go through from there. If you're still not convinced, you can just ring 300 number and talk to one of our technical experts who's going to go through and verify that the answer is correct. Now, the more you guys use it, there's a thumbs up and thumbs down and a comment section. The more you guys use that, say, well, this is incorrect, thumbs down, and give a reason why. Our guys at the office are going to get that answers. They're going to review it, and then they're going to update Nikki with better answers as they go as well. So the more it gets used, and the more you use the thumbs up, thumbs down, and comment section, the more feedback we're going to get on to get this thing trained. And it's already pretty good. It's already gone through a lot of training in order to start giving some really good answers on that. So no worries. All right. Just seeing if there's any more questions coming through.
Yeah, there is one in there. Escalade.
Which one's that one? Would you guys have any, do any direct to worker studies questionnaires? Would you guys do any direct to worker studies? Well, yes. If you wanted to set up like a study into your workforce, oh, actually, no, I might have misunderstood this question. Do we do any direct to worker studies questionnaires? We don't. We only do direct to directors and business leaders studies and questionnaires. The only things that I can say from a worker point of view is we do on-site audits, and I do look at the data coming back from those audits, which are the on-site audits, which are a bit more accurate in what we're seeing out on site as well. And also we do integrity root cause investigations as well, which we draw a picture from what's actually happening out on site from workers as well. So while I don't collate that information in like a statistic thing like I did today, we do learn from every single site audit or investigation that we carry out as well. But we generally don't have great access to workers as much. Well, we focus on members, business managers, employers. So that's who we normally focus on.
We do have a little bit of access, Owen, through our toolbox talks.
Yes.
So their understanding of the different topics that we're covering.
Yeah.
So there is
once again,
potential.
the questions are very easy on the back of the toolbox talk. So they're completed by workers, but the questions are pretty easy. So we're normally getting like 5 out of 5 on all those quiz responses too. Although what was interesting, we did see a couple of people come back with incorrect answers as well when I looked at it last. But yeah, we don't get too much stat direct from workers. I'd have to admit that. So yeah, but check out those risk focused toolbox though. They're pretty good. The quizzes have been working quite well. All right, I think that's it for us. There is a survey at the end of this one, believe it or not, which will come up at the end of this webinar. So please feel free to complete that and let us know how to improve this format as well to make it a bit more better to what you guys are expecting from us. And but I think that's it for us today, unless anyone else has got anything to bring anything up quickly or any questions. The one will come up. New South Wales Digital CCEW update and understanding how it's going to work. So I'm going to leave that to our technical department in NECA as well. So there will be some sort of presentation, webinar, live event in regards to the new CCEW. I can tell you that, and some guidance on that. There may be even an entire roadshow next year. But that's going to be managed by our NECA technical, and I'll leave that with that department. But just keep your ears tuned to e-news, and something should be out soon in regarding to that. But definitely put that into the survey when the survey comes up, because that'll I'll feed that information over to them as well. That people are looking forward to that digital CCEW update. Cool. Thanks for that, Luke. No worries. All right. Thank you, guys, and we'll leave it with that. I'll see you at the next meeting in February, at the end of February. Okay. Thank you. Bye.